In this video, I'm going to show you how to data merge in Adobe Illustrator. We often do this in InDesign, and I have some other videos on that, but you can actually do it in Illustrator, and it gives you some options that you don't have in InDesign. So let's dive in. I feel like it's a little more complicated here in Illustrator to do a data merge for something like addresses. If you want to do something with images, it's going to be easier to do it in Illustrator than in InDesign most likely, but for something like addresses, I feel like InDesign is typically easier, but let's go ahead and dive into this and I'll show you how it works. And once you have it set up, it's actually pretty easy. You just have to spend a little bit more time setting it up. So first, let's talk about your spreadsheet. You want to have an Excel list with every row in a different column, and you want to have no spaces in your column titles. So that's going to cause an issue if you have a space there. So we have like city, state instead of city, space, state. And then you want to download this just as a CSV file, same as you would for any other data merge. Now you want to set up your addresses the way that you want them to be as far as fonts, sizes, placement on the envelopes, colors, etc. These are both my fonts, by the way, Sapphire Script and Daisy Beth, if you want to check them out. So we'll set them up all in different boxes, and then the one thing you want to make sure you do is make sure the box is big enough to fit like the longest name. So we will just make this a little bit longer because otherwise it might not fit, and then it's just going to cut off. It doesn't resize the box or the font or anything. And you want them in separate boxes for each part of the address or each different variable. Now we'll go into Window and scroll down to Variables. Here we go, Variables. And we have our data source file, so we'll go ahead and import it. Now we're going to click on each portion that we want to associate with the variable. So we'll click on name, and then we're going to use this little button here that says Make Text Dynamic. We'll do address and ADDI, we'll make that dynamic, and then city, state, zip, we will make dynamic there. And you can see how this is looking by going through the different data sets. So data set 1, we see Caleb and Lindsay, and we see their address here, and all of the other ones. You'll see here we have a little bit of overset text, so it's possible that we want to make that text a little bit smaller. I'm just going to leave it so that you guys can see it really well. Now that your variables are dynamic, what you'll do is set up an action that will save everything out. So you go into Window, Actions, and you only have to do this one time, so you won't have to do this again. And we'll click on Create New Action. Let's call it Test Save Variable Data. And then we'll click Record. And what we're going to do here is save this however we want it to be saved. So I'm going to click Save As. And I'll create a new folder. Save. And we'll save this as a PDF and just click Save. And then you want to select any of the options here. I'm going to leave the bleeds and just not preserve Illustrator editing capabilities and then save the PDF. Now we can stop the action, and that's the only thing that it does. So if you want to export this as a JPEG, that's what your action would do. If you want to save it as a PDF, that's what your action would do. So however you want to save the files, you'll do that as your action. And then we need to batch the actions. So with that action selected, Test Save Variable Data, we'll go up here and we'll click Batch. So usually the one you just used is going to be selected, but if not, just select the action that you want to use. And our source, instead of being folder, is going to be our data set. The data set is the variables that we already selected. We did a save command, so we're going to choose this, override action save command, and then we're going to choose our folder that we want them to save to. Data merge save, select folder, and then you can change how the file is named. You can tell it to stop for errors. We're not going to do that because I know there's a couple of those overset texts, and I want you to see how everything goes. So I'm just going to click to log the errors to a file. And we'll click OK. And you can actually see it working through all of the different options. And as the action is playing, you can see what it's doing. So now if I go into my data merge save folder, basically I have created a file for every single one of these data sets. Now, all of these are different pages, so if you want to combine them into the same page, then the easiest way to typically do that is open it in Acrobat, click Combine Files, and then you can select all of these options. And now we have everything ready to go. Once we have finished combining this file, we'll have all of our addresses set up in one PDF. I am looking for a way to skip this step and batch them all into a single PDF from the beginning as different pages. If you know how to do that, let me know below. If I figure that out, I'll film another additional tutorial. But so far, this is a great way to data merge in Illustrator if you just prefer Illustrator, if you only have Illustrator, if you just hate data merging in InDesign or Microsoft Word or any of the other data merge programs, then this is a great option. And there are some things you can do here in Illustrator that you can't do in InDesign, such as data merging with images, which I'll film in a different tutorial because it's kind of a level 2 option here. So let me know what questions you have. If you're brand new to Illustrator and this felt really over your head, then check out our free Adobe Illustrator course that I'll link in the description of this video. And while you're here, definitely check out our other tutorial for data merging in InDesign so you can decide which one you like better. Thanks, everyone.